As the poetry crisis deepens in the Romano Cooper apartment, the script of One Day at a Time transitions smoothly from lighthearted creative struggles into a more layered examination of ethics, sibling loyalty, and the crushing weight, adolescent expectations. This section of the episode brilliantly captures Barbara's moral descent into temptation, facilitated by her older sister Julie, whose own rebellious history adds rich complexity to the unfolding drama. In the context of 1970s America, where academic achievement was increasingly viewed as a pathway to stability amid economic turbulence and shifting family norms, this storyline resonates with profound authenticity. The writers handle the delicate subject of plagiarism not with didactic condemnation but with warm understanding of human frailty, particularly the frailty of a teenager desperate not to disappoint a hardworking single mother. The sequence begins with Barbara's exhaustion reaching a breaking point. Sleepy and defeated, she admits her desperation openly, the fear of bringing home an F, the certainty that her mother would be devastated, and the self-awareness that poetry simply is not her strength. This vulnerability is portrayed with touching realism. Barbara, the younger daughter who has largely been the good girl striving for perfection, finds herself in uncharted territory. The 1970s marked a period when educational competition intensified with greater emphasis on grades as tickets to college and future success, especially for children of divorce who often felt an unspoken duty to ease their asked parents' burdens. Anne Romano's high expectations, born from her own determination to build a new life after divorce, weigh heavily on Barbara, creating fertile ground for ethical compromise. Enter Julie, the sharp-witted older sister whose presence injects both comic irony and emotional depth. Having previously dropped out of college, Julie understands the pressure all too well. When Barbara voices her despair, Julie offers a seemingly simple solution. She has old poetry from her own class that Barbara could submit. The dialogue here sparkles with the natural rhythm of sisterly banter. Barbara initially recoils in horror, declaring the idea unthinkable, only to find herself circling back to it moments later. This internal tug-of-war is masterfully written, revealing the universal human tendency to rationalize wrongdoing when stakes feel overwhelmingly high. If it's unthinkable, how come I'm thinking about it? Barbara muses a line that encapsulates the moral dilemma with humorous self-awareness. The script excels in showing how good intentions and familial love can blur ethical lines without ever descending into cynicism. Julie's role as the enabler is particularly nuanced. She acknowledges the very ugly word for their plan, plagiarism, yet proceeds with pragmatic advice on how to make the borrowed work pass as original. She instructs Barbara to select poems and modify them slightly, so they don't sound so great, demonstrating a street-smart understanding of deception that contrasts beautifully with Barbara's naivety. This sisterly collaboration highlights one of the episode's core strengths, the deep, if imperfect, bond between the two girls. Julie's offer stems not from malice but from protective affection. She sees her younger sister crumbling under pressure and responds in the only way she knows how, by sharing her own past work as a lifeline. In 1970s television, such portrayals of sibling solidarity were refreshing, especially in a show centered on a single mother household where daughters often had to rely on each other amid absent or distant paternal figures. The scene-by-scene progression builds tension and humor in equal measure. Barbara's hesitation gives way to reluctant acceptance as fatigue and fear overpower her principles. The typed poems Julie produces become tangible symbols of temptation, neatly organized artifacts of past academic success that promise an easy escape. Schneider's earlier pizza-fueled encouragement to rest and dream creatively lingers in the background. Ironically, contrasting with the late-night ethical shortcut the sisters are now contemplating. The writers weave these threads together seamlessly, using the domestic setting, the apartment, kitchen, scattered papers, and lingering smell of pizza to ground lofty moral questions in relatable everyday reality. This attention to environmental detail reinforces the show's commitment to portraying family life as it truly was in 1970s. Urban America, imperfect, improvised, and filled with small compromises. Thematically, this part of the episode explores the clash between honesty and survival. Barbara's academic integrity, previously a source of pride, buckles under the fear of failure. The script gently satirizes the educational system's rigid expectations while empathizing with the students caught within them. In an era when countercultural values celebrated authenticity and self-expression, yet traditional metrics of success like grades remained paramount. Barbara's dilemma mirrors broader societal tensions. Plagiarism here is not glorified but presented as a symptom of deeper issues: the pressure on children in non-traditional families to perform flawlessly, the unequal distribution of parental emotional labor, and the seductive appeal of lowered shortcuts when exhaustion sets in. Julie's casual expertise in cheating adds layers of irony given her own academic inconsistencies, and underscores how older siblings often serve as both role models and cautionary tales. Character insights abound in these exchanges. Barbara emerges as a sensitive, conscientious young woman whose moral compass is strong but not yet fully tested by real adversity. Her repeated protests before yielding reveal genuine internal conflict, making her eventual decision feel earned rather than contrived. Julie, meanwhile, shines as the pragmatic, street-smart sister, whose love language includes rule-bending for the greater good. Her line about the sisters sharing the same brain cells and Barbara temporarily borrowing her half is both funny and touching, encapsulating their intertwined identities in a divorced household. Anne Romano, though physically absent in this specific sequence, looms large as the moral anchor whose disappointment both girls fear. This invisible presence heightens the stakes and deepens the audience's investment in the unfolding events. The comedic timing remains impeccable even as the moral weight increases. Julie's playful insistence that plagiarism doesn't sound so ugly and her coaching on how to properly disguise borrowed work elicit genuine laughs while never undermining the seriousness of the choice. The dialogue crackles with 1970s sitcom energy, rapid overlapping and richly idiomatic. References to past family tensions, including Julie's own college experiences, add continuity and emotional texture to the larger series arc. The writers demonstrate deep appreciation for the nuances of teenage psychology, portraying Barbara's desperation not as weakness but as a natural response to the perfectionism trap many young people fell into during this transformative decade. Historically, this storyline connects to the growing national conversation around youth mental health and academic stress in the 1970s. Post-Vietnam, and amid economic stagflation, American families faced new pressures, with television increasingly reflecting these realities. One Day at a Time was pioneering in showing how single mothers and their children navigated such challenges with humor and humanity rather than melodrama. The plagiarism temptation serves as a microcosm for larger questions about authenticity in a society that valued both creative freedom and measurable achievement. By focusing on Barbara's story, the episode avoids simplistic judgments, and instead invites viewers to reflect on their own ethical compromises made under pressure. As Barbara pores over the poems, the audience senses the gathering momentum toward exposure and confrontation. The modifications she plans represent a last grasp at preserving some semblance of originality, yet they also foreshadow the complications to come when Miss Loring enters the picture. This section masterfully balances levity and gravity, using the sisters' late-night collaboration to explore themes of loyalty, temptation, and the blurry boundaries of help. The warmth of their interaction, Julie's loving gesture that comes with the caveat that Barbara now owes her forever, captures the enduring, occasionally transactional nature of sisterhood with affectionate accuracy. The script's dialogue in this part stands out for its natural flow and emotional honesty. Lines flow organically from exhaustion to justification to reluctant participation, creating a believable progression that respects the intelligence of both characters and audience. Performances implied by the transcript would require precise comic timing and genuine sibling chemistry, elements that One Day at a Time consistently delivered through strong ensemble casting. The episode's appreciation for the 1970s cultural landscape shines through in its refusal to moralize excessively, instead trusting viewers to recognize the human cost of Barbara's choice. In broader terms, this temptation sequence enriches the show's ongoing exploration of single motherhood. Anne's absence during the decision-making process highlights how children in such households often make significant choices without immediate parental oversight, relying instead on each other. It also sets up future conflicts by planting seeds of deception that will bloom dramatically when the poems reach Miss Loring. The writer's skill lies in making this moral slip feel both consequential and forgivable, a delicate balance that defines the series' tone. By the end of this section, the audience is fully invested in Barbara's predicament. The plagiarism plan, born of love and desperation, represents a pivotal turning point. It deepens our understanding of Barbara as a character who, despite her best efforts, is as susceptible to human weakness as anyone. Julie's supportive yet enabling role adds nuance to her portrayal as the more experienced but still flawed older sister. Together, these elements create a compelling narrative foundation that propels the story into the misunderstandings and family confrontations that follow. This part of the episode exemplifies why One Day at a Time endures as a classic. It transforms a simple school assignment gone wrong into a thoughtful meditation on pressure, family bonds, and ethical gray areas, all while maintaining the warm humor and sharp observation that made the show groundbreaking. The temptation of plagiarism, handled with such insight and affection, stands as a testament to the series' ability to find profound drama in ordinary teenage life during a decade of immense social change.